If you've been watching me for a while, then you know that I do love me some fossilized footprints. This is not really a secret because, I covered the oldest human footprints in North America that were found at White Sands in New Mexico, and they date back to 23,000 years ago. I also recently covered the 12,000-year-old human footprints in Utah. I also covered the oldest ever discovered pre-human footprints that were found on a beach at Tragillos on the island of Crete in the country of Greece. And of course, I covered the Laetoli footprints at the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, which is in Africa. And yes, friends, today is yet another amazing day because today I'm covering fossilized footprints as a new paper was released by Nature on October 19th, 2022, about the new date of the footprints that were discovered at Matalascañas beach in southwestern Spain. So without any further ado, my name is Kaylee. Most of you watching this will already know that. And in this video, I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about these hominin footprints. As always, I'm going to start at the location of the discovery. Locations hold key information, and it's important to understand where these footprints were discovered. The footprints were discovered on a beach in the area known as the Asperillo Cliff, which is close to Matalascañas in the Doñana National Park in southwestern Spain. The discovery of the footprints itself occurred back in June 2020, and back then it was believed that the footprints had to be at least 106,000 years old. It was even considered to be one of the most important discoveries of that year in the archaeological community. 106,000 years ago would fall in the late Pleistocene. During this time, Neanderthals were the only living human species in Europe. When they first discovered it, the site had 87 hominin footprints in total. Like I said, that was when it was first discovered. Of these 87 prints, 31 were complete, and these complete prints were then measured and they ranged from 14 to 29 centimeters in length. I'll put on screen what that is for the American viewers or other people that don't use the metric system. This meant that the individuals leaving these prints on the sand were ranging between 104 to 188 centimeters in height. Because there is such a wide range in the length of the individual footprints, the researchers concluded that the prints were made by a group of hominins with an average of more kids and teens than adults. So the discovery of that suggests that the group of individuals leaving the footprints were a social group, most likely from the same community, with a couple adults overseeing the younger ones. It's very straightforward. So because of the fact that the prints were initially dated to approximately 106,000 years ago, it was thought that they were probably left by the Neanderthals, as, they were considered to be the only human species living in Europe around that time. So it has to do with the age range and the anatomical characteristics of the footprints, as the anatomical characteristics of these footprints show that it's at least from the Neanderthal lineage. But yeah, mostly the age resulted in this idea because, like I said, 106,000 years ago, Neanderthals were the only species of human living in Europe. So that's a quick conclusion. But thankfully, science and its research usually doesn't stop after an initial discovery. And, the use of the dating methods in the original discovery. So usually they like to verify and confirm dates by taking a new sample and doing the entire process again, sometimes with the use of new techniques as well. This is extremely important in my opinion. So they went back and a new sample was taken at the Asperillo Cliff area. And a new technique was used. It's called Optically Stimulated Luminescence. The researchers then determined an entirely new date for the Matalascañas footprints, which was now pushed back to 295,800 years ago. Almost 200,000 years older. This new date was then verified and confirmed by the researchers, and they were extremely impressed by the results. It was already seen as a major discovery, but now it's even a crucial discovery for understanding human occupation in Europe during the Pleistocene. The Middle Pleistocene, that is. The prints were most likely left by individuals from the Neanderthal lineage, which doesn't necessarily mean that the prints were left by Neanderthals themselves, but they could have been left by the ancestors of the Neanderthals, who we know to be Homo heidelbergensis, who was also living in Europe 295,800 years ago. So we know that 295,800 years ago, Homo heidelbergensis and Homo neanderthalensis both lived on the European continent. So they could very well both be the ones that left these footprints. I actually recently made a video on Homo heidelbergensis and the possibility that this species was the very last common ancestor of both the Neanderthals and us Homo sapiens sapiens, as this could very well be the case. If you haven't watched that video, I will put it as a card in the upper right corner, and I will put a link in the description down below as well, so you can watch that. It's a good video. Homo heidelbergensis is actually very often referred to as a pre-Neanderthal, and in some rare cases, this species is referred to as archaic Homo sapiens, which I personally don't agree with because we already had archaic Homo sapiens dating back to 300,000 years ago at Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, and they were most definitely not Homo heidelbergensis. So yeah, no, I don't like that name for them. So we know that both the Homo neanderthalensis and Homo heidelbergensis species were human species, as they were from the Homo genus. Homo meaning human. So stop telling me in the comments that I can't use the word homo. It's really annoying at this point. The new dates show that human species were roaming in the Iberian Peninsula approximately 200,000 years earlier than previously thought. This is because we don't know much about the Middle Pleistocene. But that's not even the latest bit of news. Initially, the researchers discovered 87 footprints, but now, more than 2 years later, they have discovered more than 300 footprints so far that lead towards animal tracks. So the story and the plot just thickens. This suggests that the individuals might have been hunting animals on the day that they left their footprints in the perfect conditions for their footprints to become fossilized. So the area of the Iberian Peninsula would actually have been one of the best locations for human species to survive during this time, when major glaciation occurred in Europe during the Middle Pleistocene. Southern Europe was the best bet for survival, and these species apparently knew that because they were there and they were living, surviving. Another thing to note is that when these footprints were made, a landmass known as Doggerland was still very much intact in Northwest Europe. I have created quite an extensive video on Doggerland last year. It's actually nearly a mini documentary, and it shows how this landmass eventually disappeared and the remnants that we can find of it up until this day. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll also put it as a card in the upper right corner, and I'll put a link in the description down below as well. The Matalascañas footprints, after they've been researched again and dated again, are now even more valuable to our understanding of human species in Europe due to the fact that they originate from the Middle Pleistocene, which is a very poorly documented time in Europe due to the fact that deposits with footprints are very scarce. Evidence of human occupation during this time is very, very scarce. So, I mean, these footprints could even hold more information to us that we haven't uncovered yet. So, the question that I want to ask you is, which species do you think left these footprints? Do you think it was Homo heidelbergensis, or Homo neanderthalensis, or you know, the Neanderthals? Let me know in the comments down below, and yeah, I'd like to have some back and forths with you guys. But with that said, if you enjoyed watching, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more of these kind of videos, and click that bell icon if you want to be notified whenever I upload. If you haven't seen my previous videos yet, then click the card in the upper right corner, or click a link in the description down below. They go straight to my playlists. If you don't want to do that, I completely understand. There's also an end card, and you can click one of the videos there. It's actually set to best for viewer, and YouTube caters to you and what it is that you'd like to see. I would also like to say a massive thank you to all my patrons and my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting me and being here on this journey to uncover our ancient past. And if you are thinking about supporting me, then maybe consider becoming a Patreon or a channel member. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, the next video might be a bit different. But besides that, I'm not going to reveal anything. See you there. Bye.